Please, I understand you have a deep knowledge of the Latin America's private pension markets, and I'm sure you know that for Romania this is a source of inspiration. Our own private pension system is built after this model. Please let us know which are the main trends now in the Latin America and the private pensions.
Well, we're in a new wave of new reforms. As you know, in 1981, Chile started a new way of thinking and implementing pensions in Latin America, which was followed by a number of countries. Now we have more than 20 years of experience, and now almost every country has realized that the system requires adjustment. So they have been introduced very important reforms in Chile itself. In Argentina, Brazil never went to the Chilean scheme, but has taken many of the learnings. So what I would say, the new trend is to reform the schemes. I would advise to those countries who have followed later the evolutions in Latin America to take a look at what has happened in the last 2 years. The developments are really very, very interesting on the whole spectrum of pensions, from the individual side to the collective provisions to what's now, I think, really the emerging trend in Latin America, and I think all over the world, is to have a social protection floor. Those who can save will save and will build a pension, but we know that under these hard economic conditions and financial crisis, there are many people who will not meet the requirements for a reasonable or a decent pension. So for those many people, all Latin American countries are building what they call a social protection floor, so that nobody really falls below the social protection floor.
Can you tell us, in principle, how does this work?
Well, it really starts by national consensus. There has to be a national will to protect everybody, and provide pensions for those who are well off, highly educated, with steady jobs and with high revenues. That's no problem in any country in the world. The problem is to bring them to everyone. So the first and the most important thing is the political will to have some kind of general solution, not for those who are privileged. So you want to go that first step. What we are recommending all countries here is to make an analysis of their fiscal space. Many countries, they say, well, I cannot afford that. That's for Europe, that's for Canada, that's for the US or for Australia, not for us. And we have gone through every country and we do an analysis of their budget and we find the fiscal space. So, well, it's possibly not a case of spending more. It's just a case of spending better. Why, if you introduce this at the macroeconomic level, that will give you the space to do some social developments. In the case of Brazil, in the case of Peru, after doing this analysis of their social budget, they could cut, for example, some kind of expenditures on the army, and then they could increase by 15 or 16% the expenditure on social issues. Since they are not in war anymore, that really made sense. And if you see, there has been elections in Brazil recently, and when we have asked the people in Brazil how have they managed this balance with a strong economy and social acceptance and so high popularity of the government, everybody says that it's because of the economic thrill of the employment sector and the generalized social agenda of the government. So this balance between economic and social has given in the region in Latin America, Brazil, this strength, and it's one of the leading emerging countries in the world.
My final question would be, after 20 years of implementing private pension, what do you think? Did the mandatory pillar especially deliver for its members in Latin America?
No, in most cases it has not delivered. It has not delivered. Results are being much less than expected, but there's no surprise in that. There are many people who can save, and saving is not really a problem. But in Latin America, we have a huge informal sector. 6 out of every 10 jobs are in the informal economy. 8 of every new jobs are in the informal economy. So people really have not been able to save. And that's what has triggered the reforms, including Chile. They had in hand the figures. The system was not deliberate. They had to implement. They had to make some adjustments, a gender balance adjustment, because it was working better for men than for women. So why is this? Because they have a lower density of contribution, because they have shorter careers, because they have these cuts because of maternity. So if it's not working for women, it's not really working for all. And that, I think it has not been delivering as expected, as promised. So now we're on this new wave of new reforms.